I like creating jobs. I get excited
Yeah.
when we hire somebody. I get excited when I go into a meeting and I hear that, oh, this department is, got a huge backlog of work and, how are we going to get it done? I like that forecasting and creating jobs and interviewing people. That's exciting for me.
Welcome to Rochester Business Connections, powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC, where I get the chance to chat with Rochester, New York's very best business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. I am your host, Ben Albert. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, we don't do advertisements. My fee for this show is simple. If you gain value from the episode, personally share with a friend and explain your favorite part. Let's get started. I am here with Jake Koch. Jake, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to have you here. I'm going to use my cheat sheet to read all this off because you have so many endeavors, man. Jake Koch, president of Triton Mechanical, president of Fros Heating and Air Conditioning, vice president of Koch Environmental, and you've worked at, operations manager, Isaac and Heating in the past. So your resume is incredible. My number one question for you is, when do you find time to sleep?
When this is over. No, it's just a routine. I've got a lot of energy, and we have a good team, and I like working. And I think if you spend a lot of your time working and doing something you find enjoyable, passionate about, then sleep is kind of secondary. But yeah, I get enough sleep.
Yeah, I just started my company recently. I'm arguing with my girlfriend all the time because I'm working like 60, 70 hours some weeks. But I'm like, listen, this is not work at all. Like, this is fun for me. This is worth doing.
Exactly.
And so you're basically president or vice president of 3 businesses. I like to ask from a bird's eye view, explain your business. We've got 3. So let's check 3 boxes. Maybe starting with Triton Mechanical. Let's talk about Triton Mechanical real quick.
Sure. So the Triton Mechanical is the mothership, so to speak. It's the larger side of the corporation. We started about 4.5 years ago on May of 16 when we officially launched. My father and I started the company with a friend of mine, Kevin. So it's been a dream to work with my father, and we have a background in the industry. We've done refrigeration for many, many years. So it's a newer company, but we're not new to the industry. My great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather were both icemen. So refrigeration has been a dinner table conversation ever since I was a little kid. It's always just been a part of our history. So 4.5 years ago, we started Triton Mechanical. There is a specialty division of our company called Koch Environmental, and they are related. My father, Jeff, runs that division of the company. I'll stop there and explain what Triton Mechanical does. Triton Mechanical is commercial heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration. So any climate control or refrigeration for businesses, whether it's service, maintenance, installation for other businesses, that's what Triton Mechanical specializes in. And we do work between Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, most of Western New York. Now, Koch Environmental is a division of Triton Mechanical, and Koch Environmental focuses on environmental simulation. When a lot of people hear of environmental companies, they think of remediation. This is simulation. So we are actually taking equipment and creating weather conditions, whether it's temperature, humidity, altitude, vibration, particulate, in some cases, ozone, UV. We can create different weather environments to test products as part of the engineering process. So that's what Koch Environmental is.
Let's break that down, because I like to have a beginner's mindset, but in this case, I actually have no clue the application. So give us an example of like a product you would test and, the end goal in doing so.
Okay, so think of your cell phone, for example. If you get your cell phone in a hot car and you're trying to charge it, it might overheat and it might shut itself off. Well, that's a common software in smartphones today. It's protecting itself. So the thermal limits of that phone were determined in part of the engineering process of that phone. They will test it, they'll put it in an environmental test chamber, raise the temperature, power it on, and find out what are the thermal limits of this device. And you can apply that to almost anything. That's where an environmental chamber comes in, because it's basically forecasting the future. It's creating potential weather conditions, and trying to find a way to engineer through the weaknesses. One of our customers is Harris, RF Communications, L3 Harris. And a great example that I give customers is a military radio. If you think about a service member with their radio, they're maybe in a desert somewhere where it's really dry and hot. They're getting on a plane. They might fly somewhere and they might land where it's really cold or really moist or whatever. The radio is going to go through a series of environmental changes. It's going to change altitude. It's going to experience vibrations of various frequencies. It's going to go through a change of temperature. It's going to see particulate from the sand. And so, we run these systems that test like a military radio to make sure that it can survive through its entire life cycle. So it's really interesting. And like I said, you can apply it to almost anything. Lenses, we do a lot of lens testing, the coatings for different lenses. So it's a lot of fun. We work with a lot of interesting Rochester companies.
It's a lot of fun. It's fascinating. And did we talk about Fros? That's the third endeavor, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's actually Fros.
I'm going to say Fros every single time in my entire life. I apologize.
Okay,
don't take it personal. Fros.
Yeah, Fros. Yeah, it's short for Frosini.
Got it.
Sam Frosini started the company in 1954, and my uncle worked for that company until he passed away. He ran their metal shop, and we know the former owner now, Dan Partial, and we were working together as a team. And one day we just decided to have a conversation about acquiring them. And so we bought that company and we've resurrected that. And that's the residential venture that we have. So Frost Heating and Air Conditioning is residential heating and air conditioning in the Rochester community.
Got it. And yeah, we mentioned before, I want to bring it up now because I've got buddies in the August group. I've got a huge network of networkers and people. And you told me you guys are hiring. COVID, it's been crazy. A lot of people are looking for work. Are all three businesses hiring? Tell me a little bit about your, employment situation right now.
Yeah, we're looking for, I think, in every area, we're looking for talent. Looking for somebody with an accounting background. We're looking for service technicians. We're looking for a few installers, and we are looking for both experienced and entry level. Obviously, as we grow rapidly, which in some areas we have, we need to bring in some people who have talent already. But we've grown the company mostly organically by hiring people that have little or no industry experience, but they've got the right professional temperament, the right attitude. And we teach them the technical aspect. And the team that we have is very experienced. And we found that the mentoring, the one-on-one training has been more effective than trying to, hire people from competitors and hope they don't come with bad habits.
Yeah, there's a lot there's bad habits and things you have to unlearn sometimes.
It's almost more difficult to rethread someone than it is to, thread them, so to speak, from the get-go. Yeah.
Well, why do you think that is? I mean, obviously, if you have a good attitude, you're willing to work, you're ready to work. In my opinion, you could probably take on any role and be successful if you have the right attitude and you show up and you're willing to be mentored. I'm wondering so for the most part, you've had great success with people that are just hungry to work. And it sounds like you guys have a good mentorship training program going on, it seems like, right?
Yeah. We don't have a huge organization. We don't have hundreds of employees. We don't have a huge training center, but we do offer classroom training, online training, manufacturer training. My father, Jeff, who is an owner of the company, has over 40 years of refrigeration experience. My friend, our partner, Kevin, has 15 years of experience. So we like to train people on an individual level. We find that helps a lot when it comes to retention, but also the quality of the training that the employees get, rather than just exposing them to a webinar or putting them in a classroom or something. And obviously, COVID has changed how we do some of our training too, with smaller group sizes and whatnot. But yeah, that model's proven pretty successful.
I love it. I mean, there's listeners that might be looking for work. Most of the listeners are already kick-ass business people, and they're just interested in what you do. They support the community. I'm curious, like you had mentioned, you're working multiple businesses. It doesn't seem stressful or a strain. I'm sure it's tough at times, but you love doing it. Why is your job so fulfilling? Like, what gets you up in the morning and gets you excited to do what you do?
Yeah, that's a good question because this year's been especially trying. But
yeah, it's the toughest question of the year, really.
Yeah, everybody's going to have their own answer to that. It's a hard question to answer because I love the industry, I love the technology, but for me, it's about people the most. I love our customers. I love our employees. It's a true family atmosphere. And we can genuinely say that because a lot of our family is involved and we treat each other like family. It's just got that flavor of a family company. I like creating jobs. I get excited
Yeah.
when we hire somebody. I get excited when I go into a meeting and I hear that, oh, this department is, got a huge backlog of work and, how are we going to get it done? I like that forecasting and creating jobs and interviewing people. That's exciting for me. Um, so that I would say that's probably at the top of the list. Second to that would be working with my family, specifically my dad. Love working with my dad. It's the best gift, especially after this past year. Between COVID and family businesses that have, suffered or, that they're struggling right now, I feel incredibly fortunate to work with my dad.
I love it. I mean, you're a great guy. The best two answers I could have ever received. You get to work with family, you get to give people jobs. I mean, that's two major wins, obviously, for sure. Um, Good stuff. I mean, as you mentioned, it has been a trying year. I'm wondering, like, any challenges that you had to undergo in your business in the past 6 months too. By now, it's been a full year. What challenges have you guys, been hit with? And you're obviously hiring and growing, so you're sustainable, you're resilient, you're growing strong. Like, what challenges have you taken on, and how did you kind of pivot and overcome them?
Yeah. Um, there's a range of challenges. The first thing I'll say is that from the very beginning, when we started the company, we were very intentional about the types of businesses we wanted to support. And by extension of that philosophy, we haven't really added a lot of non-essential businesses to our customer list. So we don't do a lot of food service. We don't do a lot of restaurant services, bars, for example, as a percentage of the whole. And so as sad as it is, COVID had an impact on those businesses. And because that wasn't a large piece of our customer list, it didn't impact us that much. Most of our clients come from high-tech manufacturing, aerospace and defense, other service companies. And so they were strong, and so we were strong. It had an influence on our marketing. We shifted our marketing to target more essential businesses and offering our services to them because it was more stable. We learned to be flexible too. That's another thing, is that between the departments or between our companies, we've moved people around because when one area is slower, another area might be busier. And so it's really forced us to be more flexible and reflect on what are the individual skill sets of our staff? What do customers need to have? How do we come together and overcome this by just being flexible? And I think that was a really big lesson for us, because you usually think in one channel at a time. I've got this job to do, I'm going to focus on that. But flexibility has been a big learning curve for some people. And I think we're stronger now because of it. I really do.
Yeah, I love the flexibility. It's good to hear you're stronger. I mean, it's kind of like working any muscle or doing anything that's difficult. You do it, it's a pain in the ass. You come out of it stronger because you did it. So I'm happy to hear that you guys are remaining flexible. And I think you are, but confirm it. Are you guys all Rochester born companies?
Yes.
Awesome. So are you born and raised Rochester? I am personally. I say it all the time. The listeners already know that, but where are you from? You from here?
Hilton, actually. I grew up in Hilton. That's where I was born. Moved to the city. I lived in Cornhill for about 4.5 years when I was going to school. I went to RIT at night while I was working full time during the day. And then I moved back out to Hilton. So that's where I am now.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, I didn't go far. I've had chances to go far, but yeah, for some reason, I love Rochester. Family and friends are here. The concept of leaving just didn't seem to fit. And I would have been losing an opportunity to work with my family.
Yeah, it's you're a family man. I love that. I love Rochester. I noticed in 6 months to a year ago, it was a little bit more bleak, in my opinion, in the fact that Rochester had just started to rebuild. The city was just rebuilding apartments. And then with COVID and social unrest, before you know it, the city's yelling at each other and burning, and things aren't going well. And I'm not going to even pretend like the problems have been solved. But I was just downtown the other day, and they continue to build the apartments. Right. Everyone's beginning to ultimately make changes in government, get vaccinated. All these issues we are having are getting better as a whole. And I'm just super optimistic. And I'm wondering, Rochester as a whole, like, what do you hate about the city? What do you love about the city? Where, let's say you actually take some time to rest. What do you do on the weekend just for fun, man? Like what do you like about being a Rochesterian as a whole?
I'll take them in reverse order. What I hate about Rochester, really, no, it's a very short list of things that I hate, and I rarely use that word. I wish that the Charlotte Beach was cleaner, and I wish that we didn't have that algae, that seaweed stuff that blooms every year. I wish we could use the beach more,
Yeah.
and I think that's where the list stops. Honestly, there are so many great things about Rochester. There's a lot of great educational institutions. It's a great place to hire. It's a great place to raise a family. I think the business community is very strong. There's a lot of really brilliant companies that seem to be like these best kept secrets that kind of sustain Rochester. It's a great place to be, and I've compared it to other cities where I thought of moving in years past, and everything from the nightlife and the hospitality to just the culture, the diversity of the population here. I think it's fantastic. I know New York gets labeled as not necessarily the easiest place to do business, but I think you're going to find challenges like that wherever you go. So you've got to take it on, address it, make it work for you.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that it's a great place to hire, but also New York does have a reputation of not being maybe the best place to do business. What is your opinion? Like, what's your philosophy? Do you like doing business in New York, or would you have it another way?
Um, I would like I'd like it to be a little bit easier to do
Yeah.
business. There are restrictions, there are limitations. I understand why. I'm not running for any political office or anything. So to be completely honest, it isn't the easiest state to do business in, just because there are a lot of regulations and whatnot. But there are so many things that the state does right, I think. And I've learned a lot by starting a business, how you're working with employees and the benefits and insurance side of things. And I understand more now than I did working for another company where I didn't really see a lot of that. And I talk to people that run businesses in Florida and Arizona and California, and they have their own challenges too. So I think at the end of the day, it's mindset. Know your business, know how it's going to perform, and make it adapt to the landscape. That's it.
Love it. Know your business, know how it's going to perform, and make an adaptable landscape. Did you say?
Make it adapt to the landscape.
And make an adapt to the landscape.
Yeah, because we can't change that. We can't change the tax structure or like over the past years, the COVID quarantine requirements or anything like that. And it's really in the best interest of everybody to do that. So yeah, I think knowing the landscape is a big part of it.
I think you're spot on. I'm wondering where you learned this stuff. I mean, it could be your father. I know personally, I've done marketing for countless contractors, and their number one flaw is they're incredible at their craft, but the business end is sometimes a weak point. And you seem like you're very put together and well-rounded as a business person. Is this something that you learned from your father, or where do you learn this shit, man? Like, do you read it from books? Well, where's it come from?
Just make it up.
Make it up.
I've always, a lot of it's come from my dad. A lot of it's come from my dad, and then I have a lot of friends who own businesses and people that I've worked with over the years that I observe them. I'm usually more of a quiet, behind the scenes kind of person, and I observe and I watch carefully, and I see what works and what doesn't work for people in their businesses, and that's kind of giving me some more street smarts. I do read a lot. But I think honestly, I've learned a lot from just starting the business. It's like managing people. And I've taken a lot of management classes in school, but at the end of the day, I've learned more about managing people by just managing people or leading people. You're really supposed to manage a process and lead a person. That's what it should be. But for me, it's always been a passion in the industry, and in the HVAC refrigeration industry, there are so many areas you can get into. And when I started getting a flavor of the business side of the industry, I really enjoyed it, because it's just very diverse. So combination of things to answer your question. It's kind of a long answer, but yeah, my dad was a big part of it.
No, I love it. I mean, there's so many contractors out there that you hire the first person you find online. They don't do a good job. You have to hire someone else. Before you know it, someone's peeing in your back lawn.
Oh yeah.
And when I see people that are the polar opposite, it's always a breath of fresh air, and I wish them the best. I think it's massively important. I jump around a lot. That's how my brain works. But you mentioned that you are a reader, and I'm curious, like, just as a general thing, what are your favorite books? Like, if you were to recommend a book either for, an entrepreneur or business person, or maybe just someone who just wants something fun and fiction. Anything come to mind for you? I know you got a large stack of books behind us, so I want to grill you on what you have.
I've read none of them. I'm just kidding.
That's how I am. I
Yeah,
got the books right up here. I've read about half of them.
that's good. Yeah, I've had some extra time over the past year to do some reading.
Yeah.
Anything by Dale Carnegie.
Mm.
I've read Dale Carnegie books and his books about dealing with people, I think, on a fundamental level. Same thing with Peter Drucker. I've got a bunch of Peter Drucker, the father of modern management. Very fundamental, but I like the way that they think. And um, I'm not sure. I don't have any specific, books that that I would recommend,
I think,
fiction wise. I mean, most of the books I read are pretty dry. They're technical manuals, aerospace books. If anybody wants to learn
yeah.
about stars and space, and I read a lot about that.
Elon Musk is trending now, so people might be interested in that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's an interesting guy for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, anything. Jim Covey. I'm sorry, not Jim Covey. What's his name?
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got a number of books from him. Um, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top
I
of my
think they're good ones. I mean, Carnegie, Stephen Covey are probably two of the best reads if you're a young entrepreneur, a business person,
head.
anyone who's looking to be successful in business. Because Carnegie has trainings. There's this like dirty thought that, oh, it's just, oh, how to shake a hand and a firm hand. It's more than that. It's like how to treat your employees well, how to work well in a team, how to be successful. And you can take these learnings and you can raise great kids and be a good community activist. And
Sure.
so, yeah, Carnegie, Covey, they're both great. So,
Well,
yeah, I think that's a great answer.
yeah, the book that I just most recently finished was called Option B
Hmm.
by Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook, and I like that book because one, it's timely. It speaks to adversity and bouncing back, or she calls it, bouncing forward from adversity. When something in life happens, what is your response? What is the human response, and how do you recover from that, and how do you move on? And in her case, it was the death of her husband at the time. And when she wrote about that, it seemed like an interesting, concept. But there's a lot of business implications in there as well. Personal strength, personal resiliency. Where do you get your motivation from? How do you bounce back? How do you get up the next day and keep moving forward? Not just for yourself, but for those in your orbit. I mean, your kids, your parents, whoever. And so that was a really good book. I would recommend that.
Yeah, bouncing forward. I love that concept. I like the imagery of instead of bouncing back, I mean, it's like a slingshot. You might move back a little bit and then you shoot forward. So I
That's right.
love it. I want to keep this super lighthearted, move into the rapid fire round. Short, either or. You can always fill in the blank questions
Okay.
just to get to know Jake a little bit better. Morning or nights? Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
Morning. Are you drinking coffee or tea?
I'm drinking coffee about 2 hours after I wake up.
Got it. Oh, 2 hours. So tell me about those 2 hours because a lot of people they can't get up without their coffee, but you've got 2 hours before you touch it.
Yeah. So I did a webinar. We're part of a group called Synergy. It's a national peer group. And they did a presentation and they talked about the golden hours in your day and how you have to protect them. And for me, I realized that the first 2 hours of the day, during the week especially, that's my golden window, my golden hours. And it's when I get my bigger stuff done. Any decisions I have to make, any big emails I have to write, I try to compartmentalize all that in the first 2 hours. One, because it's fresh in my mind and I'm just normally a morning person, but also because I can be by myself. I like to have an open door policy, but if I can work independently for those first 2 hours or so, I get a lot done. Sometimes more in the first 2 hours than the remaining 8 or 10.
Yeah, you're driven, man. The one thing that comes to mind though is you can still have coffee for those first 2 hours. You're like so ready to go at it that you're like, I don't even need the coffee yet. Let's get this done.
Well, I have a to-do list, and sometimes I
Mhm.
wake up early, the dog's got to go out or whatever, and I can't go back to sleep. So why waste time?
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What about, weekend you're hanging out? Do you drink beer, wine, liquor, anything like that? What's your favorite beverage?
I have a wine rack. I've got a bunch of different wines. I haven't really been drinking a lot of wine lately. I used to up until a couple of years ago. I'm not sure why. I just kind of got away from it. Um, Yeah, I've got a good collection of Chateau Neuf de Pop wine. So that's, it's a really nice wine. I drink scotch sometimes, you know, but
Wine's
not that
good.
often. Yeah, I'm really not that fun to party with, to be completely honest with you. I'm not the guy you want to go out on a Saturday night all the time.
Fair enough, man. I mean, honestly, wine's something that's better with age. So what's the point in drinking all in one night? You might as well put together a rack, let it age for a little bit. All good comes in time.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't ask this earlier. People might be looking for jobs. They obviously need, you help everybody residentially. So, and you help large businesses, and everyone who listens is a person in Rochester, right? I do have, I was looking at my listeners. I have like a couple listeners in Bangladesh. I have a couple listeners in Canada.
You're really,
Primarily, we're like 90% Rochester. How
wow.
do the Bangladesh people, I'm sorry, I don't think Jake can help you or your business, but if you're from Rochester, how do people get in touch with you? What's the best method to stay in touch?
Well, we're not in Bangladesh yet, but we might be. So keep
Thinking big.
options open.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if they're looking for help for heating and air conditioning, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Any one of the services. I mean, you're running the environmental, the mechanical, the heating and air conditioning. Do you have like what's the best contact? Is it one number for all?
You know what?
LinkedIn, website?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just give all that information out. People know the website and the phone numbers, but I'll just give you my cell phone. It's 585-703-5277. Anybody wants to get in touch or they have a question, I take questions from people. If they just have a general question about the industry or indoor air quality, I talk to a lot of people about indoor air quality right now. There's a lot of products out there. Give me a call, send me a text. Let's talk about it. But yeah, Triton Mechanical, you can call 209-1600 if you need help with your business, HVAC or refrigeration. Fros Heating and Air Conditioning is 232-4771. Koch Environmental is 484-1230. But just call my cell phone.
Yeah, and listen, guys, no one has to memorize all these numbers. There's going to be a link below where you can see the websites. You can send an email if you have an extended question that you want a good answer for. Or it sounds like Jake is, I mean, you're an expert in your field. Giving you a call, that's amazing that you're willing to do that for people at your level. Take personal phone calls and really help people. I appreciate that. I'm sure everyone else does as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw everything out there, all the websites and whatnot, but you say 90% of your listeners are in Rochester, and I know enough Rochesterians to know that they're harmless. And anybody,
Yeah,
I love heating and air conditioning. I'll talk to anybody about it.
I love it. Jake, I am not a pro at all at your industry. Is there anything that I should have asked you if I had known a little bit about your business or a little bit, more about you? Anything that I would have asked and maybe the listener's still curious about that we should touch on?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I mean, I think I hope everybody is safe and healthy. I think that's really all I want, and if we can help people in Rochester with their businesses, their homes, stay healthy, stay comfortable, then that's all I really want.
I love it. Honest. Yeah. Stay healthy, stay comfortable, stay safe. And if you are that person that had a question that wasn't addressed, we just talked about it. You can click rewind about 3 minutes and get information to reach out to Jake and ask the question yourself. It's been fun chatting with you. It was good to meet you, Jake, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time. It was nice meeting and spending this time together.
Thanks for listening to Rochester Business Connections. Don't forget to share this, rate, and comment on your favorite platform. You can also email me, ben@balbertmarketing.com. Let's connect soon. Until then, keep thriving, everyone.